Again this year, Washington County government put together a list of their achievements over the last 12 months and presented it to the citizens of the county. Jim, what say you about this year's state of the county?
So the video was a little longer than I would hope, but you know, it's always a little longer than I would hope. You know, I think the big thing for me about our county, and I'm sure I have plenty of negative things to say about our county, because it's easy, because the view's pretty good from the cheap seats, right? You know, I always take whatever I think and whatever I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not the one that is sitting there having to make the decisions and having the level of data to review and think about as they make those decisions. But one thing I know for sure, financially, this county is just amazing from a standpoint of financial stability and conservatively investing, perhaps sometimes too conservatively, because I think there are times when we should have spent more money than what we have spent. But you can't argue with the bond ratings. You can't argue with the recent upgrades of the bond ratings. You can't argue with where we are from a fiscal perspective.
Right, and you know, and from a fiscal perspective, you're right. We are in great shape. Now, something that you know did kind of come out to me while I was looking through State of the County was they're touting our 5% or 5.9% unemployment rate, and the fact that they've recently struck a deal with a South Korean company to bring 100-some jobs into the county. Now, something that kind of saddens me is that they didn't bring up the fact that, you know, well, that's half the people that are getting laid off from Volvo. So, you know, we aren't moving as forward as the video would have like us to believe.
No, but, you know, in all honesty, Volvo expands and contracts over time. And in my mind, at least, and I'm a Volvo fan, I think that their net worth to this community, to this county, has far outweighed. And I feel for the people. I feel for the people that get laid off today, or 3 years ago, or however many layoffs ago. But you can't argue with what they've brought to this community.
But my concern is, you know, just in the past year, I believe it was around 500 total layoffs between Radio Shack closing, between layoffs at Home Depot, and I think there was a layoff at a bank as well.
Susquehanna.
Was it Susquehanna? Was that Susquehanna or BB&T? I forget which.
Well, no, BB&T bought Susquehanna.
Okay.
But with large corporations, that's just to be expected. I think
Absolutely.
the county's doing a very progressive approach, or aggressive approach rather, by trying to make foreign ties, I guess, with South Korea and bringing jobs to the community. So I do have to commend them for that.
You know, and something I did like was the talk about the manufacturer roundtable and the fact that that actually is not government controlled, that the government has simply been the catalyst to set up the manufacturer roundtable in Washington County. And I think that's great that we have, you know, private industry coming together to control that, not government controlled.
So the other thing that I was really pleased about is the senior center completion. And you know, if you think about it, and I don't know how many of you know, but I'm sure most of you do, but the fact of the matter is there was talk about the senior center for years before it ever came to fruition. And it was just, and we talk about the county and the city, it was actually the county and the city that got together. The city had owned the building, as I understand it, the Armory, and there was a conversation between somebody, either the mayor or somebody on city council, and one of the commissioners, and that's how this whole idea of turning this Armory into a senior center happened. Because before we had talked about HCC, which I thought would have been a great place for it, but the reality is the cost was just prohibitive. Yeah. And this was something that we were able to get for a little bit of nothing, and I know they spent a lot of money there, but I think they're going to have a great facility.
And it's absolutely great that, you know, we do have some cooperation between the county and the city on stuff like that, but we really need to see more at the same time, because Hagerstown, you know, really should be the economic and transportation hub of Washington County, but you know, it's, you know, we've seen a lot of downsizing and layoffs lately, and you know, and that's to be expected, but we need to have more jobs coming back in at the same time.
One of the things that I was a little bit disappointed about with the video is that they didn't touch upon the drug epidemic within Washington County, and I
Right.
would have liked to see some kind of action plan that they had to combat it within Hagerstown as
Right.
well as the outlying small towns and
Right.
stuff.
So now, and I was actually a little bit surprised on that, because we do have the Washington County Narcotics Task Force, which they've done an absolutely great job on putting that together. But, you know, at the same time, they haven't, yeah, they didn't touch on it at all in the video. And, you know, we have absolutely wonderful law enforcement in our
absolutely.
community. But unfortunately, I think that we may be a little bit lacking on assistance to those who are hooked on drugs.
So, Brittany, I'll just remind you that in his acceptance speech, Donald Trump said when he is elected, there won't be a drug problem in any of these communities because he's going to cut off the source at the southern border. So I know you're a Trump fan.
Oh, I admire his imagination. I think he would be a wonderful
A wonderful what?
fiction writer.
You don't want to see the wall built?
How are No, because I think that's just wrong in general. But
Well, I guess it's up to me to be the wet blanket on this.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's something fascinating to me about the county commissioners coming out and taking credit for getting us through a recession that ended 7 years ago. And I know we had a lot of mayonnaise jars with money stashed underneath the mattress. I'm not sure I see any kind of vision out of that. You know, the senior center was, the money for that senior center was there in Annapolis for the taking, and we didn't reach for it, we didn't get it. That was a failing of our lawmakers. And it doesn't seem to, you know, just this whole feeling of just being stuck either in the past or in the present with no real idea of where we're going. The Korean angle is certainly a possibility,
Yeah.
but boy, we've been through enough of that to, I'll believe it when I
the
see
check's
it.
in the mail.
So,
Checks in the mail.
so we'll see
yeah.
how that goes.
So, and I think you're going to have the last word on that, Tim. So, up next, what's happening in Annapolis at the general session this year? Our panel has the facts.